Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. 8 countries to be barred entry into the country in fear of the spread of Omicron. And on World AIDS Day, we explore what more can be done to protect the immunocompromised. That's coming up. Malaysia will temporarily deny entry to travellers from countries considered to be at high risk of Omicron spread or those who have been to the same countries 14 days prior. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the list will be updated daily following risk assessment. Currently, 8 countries are on the travel ban list, with Malawi latest to be added on the list. According to Khairi, the restriction will also apply to migrant workers and international students from the affected countries. He said that while Malaysian citizens, permanent residents and long-term pass holders were not barred, they would be required to undergo a 14-day quarantine on arrival.
Langkah-langkah yang saya umumkan tadi sebagai langkah untuk kita perketatkan sempadan negara adalah bentuk sementara until we find out more about the variant of concern. Dan sekiranya kita dapati bahawa varian ini tidak mengancam kesihatan awam di Malaysia, kita akan melonggarkan balik sekatan-sekatan. Ini juga adalah selaras dengan nasihat daripada Pertubuhan Kesihatan Sedunia to not also overreact to the variant of concern, to respond in a proportionate manner and to continue to share information and update.
He said Malaysia is also reviewing whether to impose similar travel restrictions on 5 other countries which have detected the highly transmissible COVID variant. They are the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany and Australia. Khairi also said plans to introduce vaccinated travel lanes with countries afflicted with Omicron would be put on hold. Additionally, the minister said the use of the autogate system for Malaysian passport holders has been suspended temporarily with immediate effect. The government would retain a 6-month interval for booster jabs despite some countries deciding to shorten it. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said for now, the 3-month interval would only be for Sinovac vaccine recipients and immunocompromised individuals. However, he said that an announcement will be made next week for a new interval for those who are immunocompromised. As for the general public, he said he is aware of countries such as the United Kingdom having shortened booster jabs interval, but said that his ministry will continue to monitor the situation and make an announcement should a shorter interval period is necessary. Besides the Pfizer vaccine, Khairi said that the AstraZeneca vaccine is recommended as an alternative booster dose for both the homologous as well as heterologous approach. The Sarawak state election will go ahead with enhanced SOPs following the emergence of the Omicron variant. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Parliament, Datuk Mas Irmayati Samsudin, said the SOP, which is being drafted, will be improved, taking into account the current COVID-19 situation and the experiences gained from the Sabah and Malacca state polls.
She was responding to a question by Bandar Kuching MP Kelvin Yee, who asked if an emergency proclamation would be declared for Sarawak in light of Omicron's recent emergence. On absentee voters being allowed to submit postal votes, Mas Irmayati said only specific individuals could do so, including those taking part in managing the election process, police and army personnel and members of the media covering the election. She said there was not enough time for the EC to implement e-voting to allow those unable to return to cast their votes. The 12th Sarawak state election will be held on December 18th.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob today admitted that the price of essential goods has increased, but said it was not caused by traders. He attributed the price increase to costs accumulated at various levels of the supply chain before goods reached the traders.
While conducting price checks on essential items at Putrajaya, the Prime Minister said the government will need to look into the issue regarding the involvement of middlemen in the supply chain. He added that the government would import frozen chicken to enable the people to obtain chicken at a lower price. For a start, 200 container loads of frozen chicken will be brought in, and they are expected to be available in the local market by next week at the latest.
Putrajaya has no plans to rebrand the Sabah and Sarawak regions as mainland Malaysia. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Sabah and Sarawak Affairs, Dato' Hanifah Hajar Taib, told the Dewan Rakyat that the current terms used to address the two Borneo states was sufficient.
She was answering a supplementary question from Tuaran MP Datuk Sri Madya Stangau, who pointed out that the two states alone constitute 60% of Malaysia's overall territory and asked if the government would rename it as the mainland. But Hanifah said the government is of the view that the existing term of East Malaysia as provided by law is adequate. Furthermore, the proposed amendments to Article 1(2) under the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2021, if approved, would restore the term Borneo states to refer to Sabah and Sarawak.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Amanah di tangan kita. Adat, budaya dan semangat menjadi kesinambungan perpaduan tanah air yang tercinta. Berteraskan adab yang terpahat di jiwa dan raga. Marilah bersama kita membina negara Malaysia.
Semua yang terjadi adalah berita, tetapi tiada siapa yang boleh bawakan yang terkini dan tergempar seperti kami.
Dilihat hanya memberi wang tanpa matlamat yang tepat. Dia tidak melakukan apa-apa kesalahan.
Untuk mendapatkan jawapan yang bermakna, kita perlu soalan yang tepat.
Amat sedih dengan apa yang berlaku ke atas.
Tiada ruang untuk berita palsu.
Negara kita telah merekodkan kes harian baru sebanyak
hanya fakta yang diberikan.
Amat penting untuk meneruskan perjuangan negara melawan pandemik ini.
Sentiasa memastikan suara anda, suara rakyat didengari.
Kenapa?
Membawakan apa yang penting di mana sahaja anda berada.
Kerana kita hendak putuskan rantaian jangkitan.
Belanjawan dan pendekatan bertemakan survival ini secara keseluruhan.
Teruskan bersama kami, Astro AWANI, saluran berita yang
Welcome back. On World AIDS Day, Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin revealed that Malaysia has successfully reduced the number of new HIV cases to 3,146 in 2020 through various medical advancements and efforts. However, what more can be done? In times of pandemic, countries have prioritized and expedited vaccinating those immunocompromised against COVID-19. President of the International AIDS Society, Professor Dr. Adiba Kamarul Zaman said this is vital because those living with HIV and AIDS are more at risk to become a host for the coronavirus to mutate.
She also reiterated the importance of vaccine equity in countries with higher prevalence of AIDS.
There have been, studies that showed people not just living with HIV, but other forms of immunosuppression may take longer to clear the virus, which then gives an opportunity for the virus to mutate, which then, drives home the point that in countries or in a whole continent like Africa, where there is high prevalence of HIV, there is that urgency to vaccinate those living in South Africa, especially and including those living with HIV. I think if there is a silver lining to all this panic around the new variant, I hope it will galvanize the world, particularly the rich world, to ensure that the much needed vaccine gets to Africa.
On to more developments on the Omicron variant. More countries other than Malaysia have moved to tighten their borders as uncertainty remains over the transmissibility and severity of the new variant of concern. Around 20 countries and territories from around the globe now have suspected or confirmed cases belonging to the Omicron variant.
In Asia-Pacific, Japan and Hong Kong have expanded travel restrictions on travellers from high-risk countries. Japan confirmed 2 cases of the Omicron variant after announcing it will close its borders to all foreign travellers for a month. The country has also asked airlines in Japan to stop taking new incoming flight bookings. Meanwhile, Australia said it is bracing for more cases of the Omicron variant after at least 2 people visited several locations in its biggest city, Sydney, while likely infectious. The US will also tighten travel rules, requiring that all air travelers entering the country show a negative COVID-19 test performed within 1 day of departure. Currently, vaccinated international travelers can present a negative result obtained within 3 days from their point of departure. The World Health Organization urged countries to avoid hastily imposing blanket travel bans, but to apply an evidence-informed and risk-based approach. Although it said that blanket travel bans would not stop the spread of the Omicron variant, the WHO urged vulnerable people, including the over 60s, to postpone plans to travel abroad.
China is fighting a fresh COVID outbreak in the north. It reported 91 locally transmitted cases on Tuesday, the highest in nearly a month. All of the new cases were reported in the northern region of Inner Mongolia, bordering Russia.
To curb the outbreak, authorities in the Inner Mongolian city of Manjoli said it will suspend rail imports on all kinds of products that require manual loading and unloading. Manjoli handles more than 65% of trade between China and Russia. The fresh COVID outbreak in recent days have forced authorities to impose localized lockdowns and travel restrictions in Inner Mongolia. China maintains a strict zero-COVID approach, using targeted lockdowns, border controls and mass testing to keep outbreaks under control.
3 students were killed and 8 others injured in a high school shooting in the US state of Michigan. Police said the suspect, a 15-year-old student at the school, used a handgun belonged to his father to carry out the attack.
Police said the teenager fired 15 to 20 shots with a semi-automatic handgun before he was apprehended. He still had 7 bullets in the gun when he was taken down by police in the school hallway. Authorities received over 100 emergency calls when the shooting happened. A 16-year-old boy and 2 girls aged 14 and 17 died in the attack, while some of the injured are reported to be in critical condition. Police said a motive for the shooting had not yet been determined.
The Memorandum of Understanding between government and opposition was meant as a bipartisan effort to stabilise politics between the Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri-led administration and PH. Have promises been kept? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests on the MOU's progress. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and the Astro AWANI app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. We'll see you again.